Zamasu is a Supreme Kai in training of Universe 10 in Dragonball Super. Now, we see how strong he truly was, along with his perspective on humans and how that perspective interacts and bounces off other characters like Gowasu, Vegeta, Goku, etc. What if instead we have Zamasu being a part of Universe 7 where Shin would have taught him the ways of the Kais? How would have things affected the story? Would Zamasu have actually succeeded in his Zero Mortals plan? Would the Zero Mortals plan even exist? Well, let's find out. And what if Zamasu was in Universe 7?
Hey, collecting rings like I'm Sonic. Bitches wanna party. My wrist getting heavy, so I got 'em on a diet. Yeah, flex like I'm Hogan. Yo, he's coming over. Yeah, we respect.
We start our story off whenever Shin was trying to look for an assistant, but rather than coming across Kibito like in canon, this time he would come across a man named Zamasu, who would have been honored to help the gods. Not only would Shin teach him what it takes to be a Kai physically, which Zamasu would show he already has what it takes for that, but rather what he mostly needs is training in the mind. Zamasu may be strong, but mentally he's not in the right place, thinking all mortals do is cycle around and make things worse, and they never adapt. And he's also annoyed at Shin how he never tries to get into conflict and just lets the mortals do everything. And Shin and Zamasu both were sensing what was going on in the universe with stuff like Frieza, Cell, etc. However, Shin makes it very clear that their main focus right now is Majin Buu, because yeah, those threats are pretty big. However, they are not nearly as big of a threat as Majin Buu, and they need to worry about the strongest threat currently. And if the mortals got it, then they don't have to worry right now. And when Zamasu is talking negatively towards mortals, Shin says for Zamasu to just wait for one day for the universe to show you that there is a bigger purpose for them than just wiping out threats or cleaning up quote-unquote trash. That's not what the Supreme Kais are for. They're supposed to be the opposite and help mankind. Zamasu does understand this better than its original self and isn't more so willing to kill mortals now, but Zamasu still has this confliction inside of him. So he's kind of worse than Kibito, but better than his Universe 10 self, so kind of in the middle between those two characters. We eventually make it to the Buu Saga itself, where we have Shin and Zamasu explaining to the Z Fighters they use Gohan to try and lure out Babidi, which allowed them to find his hideout where Deborah and the others are located. Deborah would attempt to surprise attack Shin similarly to how he did towards Kibito, but that's when we see Zamasu move past Shin and tag Deborah with the blast before he could tag Shin. Deborah is sent flying and would quickly lure the group towards Babidi's hideout, where we see Vegeta, Goku, and Gohan fight with Zamasu trying to participate, but the mortals insist on them fighting. This is mainly because their Saiyan blood is getting in the way, and not to mention they started it by attacking them personally, so they're gonna finish it themselves. This frustrates Zamasu, who believes this could just be done so much easier if they just wipe everything out together. And as I said before, there's already conflict within Zamasu about how he feels towards mortals. And when he senses Goku fighting Yagon, he just questions how a mortal could be that powerful. However, he isn't the only one, as Vegeta is also upset at this sight, along with also being upset with Gohan not being able to finish off Deborah. Zamasu would be mad at this, since this just goes back to his point of just letting him fight. Deborah, sensing these two's negative emotions, would alert this to Babidi, which would lead into not only Vegeta becoming Majin, but also Zamasu. Right after this, everyone is taken to the World Tournament, where Vegeta and Zamasu are straight up murdering people and unironically are kind of a powerhouse duo right now. Both of them simply used Babidi for their own personal gain, which resulted in them achieving power, and the two of them have goals that don't really go against each other. Zamasu wants to remove the mortals and thinks that he's right all along, while Vegeta has one goal, and that's to kill Goku. With this, Zamasu and Vegeta, the two menaces of society, would prepare to fight the Z Fighters, which would force Goku to have no choice but to fight. Goku takes Vegeta out to the wasteland, while Zamasu is going to prove he's the god that will change everything for the better by purposely fueling Majin Buu just so he can try and kill him himself. Gohan and Shin try stopping him, but this only leads into two of them just being badly injured and Deborah being killed by Zamasu himself. Eventually, Buu would have enough energy thanks to Zamasu, which would lead into him first fighting Buu. However, Zamasu, seemingly thinking he's winning, would see Majin Buu regenerate and would proceed to send Zamasu flying through multiple mountains. He recovers and attempts to rush back at him, but this still isn't enough, and he couldn't believe Majin Buu had this much power. After this, Shin and Gohan would make their way to the Supreme Kai's world, with Shin finding it hard to leave his assistant behind. However, it is for the better, as now he isn't in the best state. Anyways, like in canon, Vegeta knocks out Goku with him attempting to fight Buu, while Zamasu recovers and can't believe his plan backfired completely. completely. He would begin to realize that these mortals have way more to offer than meets the eye. You see, Zamasu doesn't see how mortals change and they all just stay the same. But due to him being in this scenario, and Vegeta here is actually the perfect example of how not all mortals stay the same, would help Zamasu actually come to a better realization, especially since this Zamasu is completely different from the one from Universe 10. This is because he actually had a good teacher. Anyways, Vegeta still dies for nothing, and Zamasu, sensing Buu, would then decide to teleport to the Kai Realm in order to attempt at a last desperate trick against Buu. He intended to go and grab the Z-Sword, but when he arrives, he sees Gohan and Shin, who are currently pulling the Z-Sword out. Zamasu, realizing what's going on, would say how he would be the one to free the Z-Sword, since he's the strongest. But Shin wouldn't allow this, saying to Zamasu he's responsible for this whole thing, so he won't risk him doing more harm. But Zamasu would fire back, saying that he's doing this because of the mistakes he made. He needs to redeem himself now by trying to do what he thinks is the best option right now, by going to Buu himself and trying to defeat him. If Zamasu isn't strong enough, there might be no one left to stop him. Zamasu would then say how he'll just compromise as he goes up to the Z-Sword himself and manages to break it out in one go. Zamasu would wield the sword, but would tell Gohan they can take turns as Zamasu begins the next few hours training with the sword, while then he gives it to Gohan and he would train for the next few hours, with both fighters training with each other whenever they had the sword, meaning even though they're having less time to train with the sword, they're getting even bigger gains due to them having training partners. Right before Zamasu believes they are ready, Goku suggests throwing rocks to test the sword's cutting power, and like in canon, the sword still snaps and releases the Elder Kai. I still think we get the Elder Kai ritual dance happening, but Zamasu would turn down the offer due to him currently having the best chance against Buu. If anything, Gohan deserves it because not only is Zamasu responsible for this whole thing, but worst case scenario, Gohan can go and step in if Zamasu fails. Zamasu by this point has come a long way, and Zamasu would head down to Earth, where he arrives around when Gotenks attempts to first fight Fat Buu. Gotenks would be getting bodied, not even having SSJ yet, but Zamasu would come in with the save. Zamasu would say Buu's regen is going to be a problem, so it'd be good to have backup, as Gotenks would then smile. This is pretty fitting since Zamasu kinda changed for the better, partially thanks to Vegeta, and now he's teaming up with Vegeta's kid along with Goten, the warriors who were also set up for the next generation. Zamasu would be strong enough to even actually give Buu a difficult fight, but regeneration is the main thing that's keeping Zamasu from winning. This is when Gotenks would tap into SSJ during this fight and would use Die Missile Barrage to wear Buu down as Zamasu powers up everything he has into one Ki Ball. He throws it at Majin Buu point blank range as he's slowly trying to rebuild himself. However, due to Zamasu using all of his energy, every single speck of Buu is erased here. With this, Goku never comes back, and similarly to my what if Gohan never broke the Z-Sword what if, Gohan is going to be filling the main character role and the next generation is set up. As for Zamasu, after the Buu arc, I think Shin would have officially made Zamasu a Kai, which means Zamasu gets the Shin sauce. So he's not just an attendant anymore. Soon Beer still arrives with that arc playing the same along with everything up until Frieza's arrival. Zamasu, sensing this threat on Earth, would aid Piccolo and the other Z fighters, which includes Gotenks, who's been training with Piccolo since Battle of Gods, since they saw Gohan getting so much stronger, and they're a part of the next generation too, and they're trying to improve for their own sakes, which would lead into Gotenks obtaining Super Saiyan 2 and Zamasu leading the charge against Frieza's forces. Gotenks in this timeline would make quick work of Tagoma with Super Saiyan 2, while Piccolo beats up Shisami, and Frieza immediately transforms into his final form before Zamasu approaches him, managing to barely catch Zamasu's blow. Frieza would then try and fire a point-blank death beam at Zamasu, but Zamasu would just widen his eyes, creating a Jiren-like barrier that would expand and negate Frieza's attack completely, sending him flying. Zamasu would then fire a blast. Frieza tries deflecting, but as soon as he comes into contact with it, Frieza is then suddenly paralyzed. Zamasu would then go on to form a Keyblade, but wouldn't stop there, and instead of just having little auras around his hands, similarly to Goku Black, he manages to manipulate his ki to such a degree that he can make an actual ki weapon. Now, this isn't obviously going to be Goku Black's exact weapon that cuts through space, but he does make a pretty neat purple scythe that would cut Frieza like butter. Frieza couldn't overpower Zamasu in his final form, and the paralysis was too much for Frieza to really attempt to go into Golden. Frieza is defeated earlier, and the Universe 6 tournament plays out the same since Zamasu can't even participate during that, and the Goku Black arc literally doesn't exist. And as for the TOP, Zamasu can't participate because he's a Kaioshin, which means this is basically where our what if ends off, and we would probably have Goku in the TOP. However, I don't think it really makes too much of a difference. I think they would find a way to win, and Gohan would just be filling in Goku's shoes and basically learning Ultra Instinct and stuff like that, and the little changes that do occur really don't change the story too much, so this is where I'm going to be leaving this what if off for now, sadly. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel, along with hitting the bell icon icon, that way you are notified and updated when I upload, and follow me on Twitter, that will be linked in the description. Shoutouts to my boy Wonder, who's on my Patreon. He is a $1 Z Fighter tier, and if you want to become a Patreon member today, you guys can actually get early access on videos, you know, bloopers, funny stuff like that. If you want to become a Patreon member today, then go and check out the link in the description where I have my Patreon link there. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And if you're getting bullied on your first day of school, just throw a tuna sandwich at them. It works every time.